Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. You're on the farm with Jenny and Jeff, and I'm Jeff. So today I'm bringing you up on the east hill of our property, and I have not done a video up here before, and this is where we have all the nicest trees. But in particular today we're going to look at Ironwood and talk a bit about that. So I'll pan around here and you can kind of look at what we're looking at here. If you look down this way, there's a back pasture we got. And it goes down up on the other side to the other hill where we've been up before with some videos. If you look this way, though, it kind of looks like a bomb went off up here. And it was a man-made bomb. This wasn't storm damage. All these trees you see cut down are ironwood. And these trees are on our property, but I did not cut them down. The property up there, as you go up the hill, is owned by our neighbors. And they participate in the forest management program here in Wisconsin. And one of the initiatives that the DNR has is to reduce the amount of ironwood in the understory of the forests, presumably to facilitate other species coming in. Even though what I understand is that ironwood is a native tree to Wisconsin. So when I say ironwood, what am I talking about? Because it's kind of a generic term that's used for a couple of things. One of them being musclewood, which I have some around here I can show you. But what I am focusing on is this tree right here. This is called hop hornbeam. And it's pretty distinctive. It has a lot of very vertical lines in the bark, and if you see, you get little flakes that come off. It's pretty distinctive. So there's one, there's one, there's one, there's a bigger one, and another bigger one. It's all over the place in here. It also is one of these few trees that holds on to its leaves. Some of them anyway. You know, after they die. Typically you see that on the oaks, like that one in the background there, that's an oak tree. Now, ironwood is an interesting tree because it is one of the hardest trees that we have in this area in terms of the wood, and the wood has the highest BTU value of, you know, any of the other common trees we have around here, including oak and hickory. So the question is, well, why don't you see more ironwood out there in the firewood market? Well, a couple of reasons, I think. These don't get tremendously large, and if you're a logger and you're looking for money trees, you're probably looking for the big oak trees back there, or the cherry trees, things that have a lot of demand for them. And they do reside in the understory and generally don't get very tall, you know, up to 30 or 40 feet at the most. But being that it is such a good firewood, it makes you wonder, well, why isn't it more prevalent? Well, ironwood does burn very good and very hot, but because it burns so hot, you do not want to just fill your stove or boiler with just ironwood and burn it, or you may cause damage to your stove or your boiler because it does get too hot. The other thing is, too, that I'm not sure ironwood is a wood that burns the best just by itself. It's one of these trees that does better feeding off of others. So if you have a good base of coals in your stove. You can put ironwood in there to just supplement it and it'll chug right along. So let me see what we got going over here. I was up here the other day and doing a little recon before we did this video to see what was up here. And I knew there was a lot of ironwood up here, because I was up here with the neighbor when they were cutting this down, and they kind of got overzealous and came on our property a bit to cut this down. It's not a big deal. But having said that, I may try to salvage some of this. I'm going to add it to my firewood stash for next year. Now there's a tree around here that I started cutting on, and now I lost where it is. I think it's over here farther. Let's look at this one. Now, this one wasn't cut down properly. They just did a back cut until it started falling over. The beauty of this wood is that it is naturally rot resistant. So for years, you could take a relatively straight piece like this and you can stick it in the ground and use it as a fence post, and it'll last for many years. It just doesn't decay, which is very interesting. Now I've heard, if I've experienced, it's a little harder on your chains because it is a harder wood. And some people say it's tough to split. So we're going to find out. I'm going to cut some of this stuff that has been down for a little bit and compare it to another tree I found over here. If I can find it again. Not having much luck. Where did it go? Oh, here it is, right here. So this tree right here, I looked at initially and I'm like, man, this is huge. This must have been something else. But indeed, I do believe it's an ironwood tree, a very big one. I've never really seen them this big before. I thought it maybe was an elm. But when you start looking at the growth rings on this, it is not an elm. The growth rings are maybe a couple of millimeters apart. They are very, very dense, very hardwood. This has probably been here for, I don't know, a number of years, just laying down like this. There's no bark on it anymore. But you get inside, the wood is perfect. And I've also tested some of this wood with the moisture meter, and it was all 13.5 to 15%. So this is something you can just burn. So let me get the saw. Let's see if we can get a couple of nice rounds out of this and see what they look like. Another interesting thing here I'll bring up before we get started. Since these trees are so rot resistant, they generally don't, rot from like pests or anything else. Every time I've seen one of these fall over, it's at the base here. It like rots off where its roots are. And most of them I've seen have been, kind of smaller ones like this, or even a little bigger. And down at the bottom, they just rot and fall over. And at that point, you can clean them up, buck them up, and you got yourself firewood. So let me saw into this one, because I believe this is an ironwood tree. But we'll cut some of these bigger rounds. Like I said, this is if it is, it's the biggest one I've ever seen on our property here. Most of them are, these small ones that are up here. And here's one, there's one, there's one, right there, and right there, and right. They're all over. And maybe that's what our state DNR is after, is to reduce the number of these trees so other stuff can grow in the understory. Don't know. All I know that regardless, this is a decent firewood. Being that it does burn so hot though, it's best used in a mixed hardwood environment. So if you have some lesser desirable firewood like box elder or basswood or something, you throw a couple of pieces in there with it, and the ironwood will really soup up your fire. See, there's a big one right there. The top came out of. That might be storm damage. But anyway, let me work on this one that's laying down and see what it looks like. I brought the Ego 16-inch chainsaw, battery chainsaw up here with me today. I also have the MS-250. Let's see what we can do with this one. Find something here. I don't know how well you can see this, but really dense growth rings all the way through this thing. Just maybe a smidgen of decay starting on the outside, hardly noticeable at all. But this is fairly light right now, so I think the moisture content's going to be good. So let's see what else we got. Maybe I'll try a bigger piece over here. So you can see this one was laying on the ground, part that's laying on the ground, a little bit punky, hardly nothing, but you can really, if you zoom in, you can see this wood is solid. It's like iron. All right, let me cut a few more of these up and we'll be right back. All right, now I want to come over here and cut up some of this newer ironwood that was haphazardly cut down. And I'm going to take a chunk down with me and we'll see if there's any difference in how it splits and cuts. But first I have to get it off the trunk here. Well, I would say it's significantly heavier than the other one, which has been there for a number of years drying. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there's a difference. I'll buck this up and we'll start loading up the gator. Okay, got a little jag of wood here. All this on the left is ironwood, and this is this colored stuff is the stuff that's been down for years, but still incredibly solid. And then I grabbed some of this fresher cut stuff that still has the bark on it. It was noticeably heavier than the rounds from the stuff that's been laying there for a while. So we're going to go up to the the shop and split these and see if there really is a difference between the fresher cut stuff that's still got moisture in it, and I think the moisture in this older stuff is going to be almost to the point where you could burn it right away. But we'll find that out. We'll do some moisture tests when we get up there. I think right now I'm going to go and take a break and have some lunch, and then I'll mosey up to the shop with this and we'll do some splitting. Love coming up here in the woods. Got these majestic oaks in here. One there. Sun's in the way over here, but there's a couple of giant ones here. And more in the back there. In the upcoming video, we're going to, maybe the next one, we're going to go to the top of the hill and we'll look at the trees up there, because I was up there last summer and there were a couple logs that were down that I want to have a look at, different ones. I think there was some oak and maybe some cherry or hickory up there. So we'll see what we can find. So stay tuned. Okay, a little bit of wood I got all split up. Well, except for a couple of pieces that need to be cut back yet, but I'll take care of that later. And that's all I got out of that. And it's not too bad. But I have 3 pieces here I wanted to compare. This one right here is from some of the fresher ironwood. This piece was from that old discolored log. And this is a piece of oak limb that came down, and that's been drying too. So let's see what the moisture content is on these. All right, this one, the Ironwood with the bark still on was at 18.5. So the decayed log was, or not decayed, but discolored log, 17.5. And then this oak one, like 17. So, you know, for a lot of people, that's dry enough to burn right now. And this was stuff that's been, you know, just sitting out there dead. So, you know, this ironwood is some pretty interesting stuff. If you have an opportunity to get some of it, I certainly would use it for your firewood. Use it judiciously in kind of a mixed hardwood environment. 1 piece of that, 2 pieces of a lesser grade firewood, and that kind of evens everything out. I appreciate you guys sticking along and watching this. If you can, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really would help us out if you would. At the very least, it shows that somebody has some interest in what we're doing out here. But regardless, we'll continue to do what we do. Next video, probably, we're going to go up the East Hill, and we're going to look for some different wood. As for the ironwood, I have probably cords of it I could split out there if that's all I wanted to get, but I really don't need that much of it because of what I said before. I'm not going to burn it exclusively in the stove, but I will mix it in with others. But I may get some more of that too. At any rate, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.